Happy Christmas Eve, everyone. Andy, Steve, Corbin from WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Welcome to the Road to Millions on this Sunday morning. Hope everyone is having a good, safe holiday weekend. We're going to get into 3 NFL best bets. We're going to go over all the player props, their final lines this morning, alt lines, and same game parlays, and anytime touchdown scores. We're going to get started right away. Hit the like button. Leave us a comment. Tell us what your best bet is today. Tell us how your weekend's been going. Tell us how your Road to Millions has been going. Just leave something positive in the comment section. Everyone's doing great, and hope everyone's having a Merry Christmas. Positive vibes from the audience yesterday. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. That was really, really nice. It was a great birthday. Everyone asked what I did, and you know what? I relaxed. I had a great meal, and I relaxed. That was perfect birthday for me. So just appreciate all of those birthday wishes. Everyone commented on my sweater. Yes, friend of the show, Jim Malero, who does all the sack props, got this for me last year. This is a still frame of me watching a UFC fight where the decision didn't go our way, and I was stunned. So he took a freeze frame of that and turned it into a Christmas sweater, which is absolutely fantastic. So that's where I got this Christmas sweater. What's your drink of choice? I had a couple Manhattans yesterday and a nice bottle of wine. That's my drink of choice. Equal number 14 asked about the Road to Millions. Why wouldn't the books ban you if you ended up being incredible successful with this? They already have. So this is just an ongoing issue with it. They do not like when you put up good numbers. So you just have to keep opening more and more and more books. So positive vibes, guys. Thanks very much. I always go over weather and really don't see any weather. The only thing that could have taken place was snow in the Denver game, and it looks like the snow is going to be gone there, so it's just going to be cold. There's really no wind, no rain on today's action, so it should be pretty good. We shouldn't have any crazy weather games. As far as injuries, not a whole lot going on here. C.J. Stroud is not going to play today, but probably going to play next week. Christian Watson is doubtful. Dontavian Wicks is supposed to play. He's listed as questionable, but it does look like he's going to play. Geno Smith looks like he's going to play. Trevor Lawrence is going to play. Jonathan Taylor is going to play. A-Chain's going to play. Nico Collins is going to play. And Tyreek Hill is pretty much on track. They said they're going to just be safe and check it out in warm-ups, but he looks like he's going to play. Kenneth Walker is going to play. And I think that is it. If you didn't know about Michael Pittman, he got ruled in on Friday and then ruled out yesterday. Had a little bit of a relapse with the concussion protocol. So that sucks for him, but luckily they caught that. So that's good. And I don't know if you guys saw did you see Baker Mayfield has a incentive in his contract for winning the NFC South, and he can actually do that today? Who would have thunk of that? That would
wow.
Who would have thunk he would be hitting that incentive? They probably threw that in the contract, like, yeah, right, Baker. Instead, he looks great.
Division.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get into it, and let's start going through some of these props. So I guess before we get into those, Steve, for me, I don't know. There's just not a lot I love in today's slate of games. How are you approaching today?
Today there's a couple spots I really love. There's a couple of spots that I really like a lot, but not a ton of spots either. I know what you mean, that a lot of I don't have as many player props as usual today. I don't know if we're starting with passing TDs. I have one that I really love. And that's actually it. Well, it's a great transition. It's because Baker over 1.5 sitting at -110. He scored he's thrown 2+ in 8 of 14, 6 of his last 8, threw a season high 4 last week. Jags 26th again in passing touchdowns allowed with 22. So it seems like a great spot with the not a lot of juice attached to it. A lot of these passing touchdown props, the problem with them is that you see there's a lot of hefty juice, -200, -180, stuff like that. But Baker to throw 2, he's been great in 6 of his last 8 games. He's gotten there, and actually in those 8 games, he's thrown at least 1 in every one of them. And now you get a weak pass defense with the Jaguars.
Nice. Corbin, do you have any passing touchdown props?
No, no. I don't like the passing touchdowns. I find it too hard and too much variance to try and work out if someone's going to throw one or two. So
Okay. Well, let's go to passing yards here, Corbin. I'll go to you. Detroit Lions, Vikings, if you like any of those. Colts, Falcons, you like anything in these two games?
I actually don't. I'll quickly jump to the third game.
Sure.
So I like Bryce Young under his passing. It's no secret Bryce Young is not good. They're really struggling, but against the my Packers, who I mention it all the time, we just can't defend the run. I expect them just to pound the run. It's the easiest path to victory for them. We actually have a half decent passing defense. We're not too bad at that. I expect the Panthers to run. He's gone under in back-to-back weeks now with 167 and 137. So I think they're going to be running the ball far more than they're going to be passing. So I will look at his under.
Nice. Steve, you like anything in these games? Lions, Vikings, Colts, Falcons, Packers, Panthers?
No, none of those three for me.
Okay. Moving on to the Seahawks, Titans, Browns, Texans. Steve, you like any of these? We got the vaunted Case Keenum, Joe Flacco game that we were all ready for at the beginning of the season. Uh, Geno Smith and Ryan Tannehill. I guess that's the other injury. Levis, is that right? Am I the only one that thought Ryan Tannehill was done for the year?
I thought
Like,
so too. Yeah, I thought
I
so
thought
too.
that was a thing, and all of a sudden he's starting again. I will just tell you, I like his under. I don't buy this Ryan
Wasn't he
Tannehill coming
holding punts a couple of games ago? I saw him as like the punt holder or the he was definitely on special teams somewhere. I feel like I've seen him.
nowhere near playing quarterback. So I'm just stunned that he's here, and I don't buy it. I think the Seahawks might be catching. I don't want to say catching momentum or fire, but Geno Smith is back. I mean, what an amazing win for them. You saw Drew Lock and Geno Smith just celebrate. It just seemed like one of those wins that could propel a team to win a few games in a row. I don't buy this Titans offense with Ryan Tannehill. I don't think he can step in and throw for 210. So actually, it's a low number, but I kind of like his under. Steve, you like anything in these games?
I'm completely with you on the under for
Oh,
Tannehill.
nice.
I think that the way to go for them is going to be to run the ball, and I think they can do it. I'll get to Spears later, but I think they can do it with Henry, even though he hasn't been the greatest recently. But with Henry and Spears, and yeah, and I have an under in next couple of games down. If you want me to jump to it, I can. I'm
Sure.
looking at Howell. I'm looking at Howell under 207 and a half. I mean, the last 2 weeks he's thrown for 127 and 102. He got benched last week for Brissett. So I'm not sure he makes it through this game. And now he's against the Jets pass defense, which we know that's their strength is defending the pass. So I mean, give me his under all day on that one.
Agree completely. Last three games, the Jets 125 yards passing allowed. Like their rush defense is not good, and their pass defense just continues to be. I did chuckle. I saw an advertisement for the Commanders Jets game, and you know how they like show the pictures of the stars, like on the
Yeah.
game, like they just had a Commanders logo next to Sauce Gardner. That was their big advertisement. Come watch the Commanders and Jets. It's the logo versus Sauce Gardner. Yay! So, Corbin, you like any passing yards in these games?
I have two. Well, one of them's already How that you mentioned, but I have Keenum under. It was at 209. Still like it at 205. He had 229 last week against the Titans in the game that went to overtime. They're playing the Browns, who I know have had injuries and are not the same defense, but they're still pretty. They're still a pretty good defense, and I just don't rate Keenum at all. Quite honestly, no shock there. So I'm going to take his under there. And as you mentioned, just Sam Howell under 208 passing, Jets number two passing defense. The only quarterbacks that have gone over Tua, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Dak Prescott. And Sam Howell is obviously not in that same kind of category. I think they're going to just run over them. So
Nice. Jaguars and Bucks. I think we all like Baker. Steve, you touched on it with the touchdowns. I think we're all kind of in agreement that we like his over on his passing yards. It's up to 239 and a half. And to be honest, I'm not really that concerned about it. The Jags just terrible against the pass, absolutely terrible. And when I went and looked at Baker, I liked. I just see really consistency with the Bucks offense when they play teams that are not good against the pass. They throw it a lot, and he gets over. when they play teams that are really good against the pass, they run the ball, and so therefore he kind of goes under on these. And Jags are one of the worst. They have too many injuries. They're in a spiral downward. So I like Baker in this one, and I wanted to take an under on Trevor Lawrence, but I actually think that the Jags could be in catch-up mode here. I'm a little worried about taking under on Trevor Lawrence. I could see some fourth quarter yardage from him, so I'll stay away from that one. So, Steve, any opinion? Jags, Bucks, Cowboys, Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm looking at Dak Prescott, but not a yardage. I'm just looking at his over 24.5 completions, just because he's cleared it in five of his last 8 games. I'm sorry, and when he hasn't went over, he's landed on 24, 21, 22. He's always right in that ballpark. Now he faces Miami, who this kind of seems like it's going to set up to be a shootout. They're on Dallas is on the road, so it's not like they're going to have that when they're at home, they're a lot stronger. And Miami's dealing with some injuries to their secondary. Howard's banged up. A couple other guys in that secondary are banged up. So I like his over on his completions today.
Corbin, like any of these passing props?
I don't. The one I will mention, we went past it, but it's actually Flacco. I know that you've got him later on, but I was actually considering taking his under this week. I don't think he's going to be throwing the ball as much this week. 250 is quite a lot. I think they're going to bring back the run game because he's been going over, but he's been in close games and or situations where he's thrown from behind. So I was going to consider taking an under on him because I think they're going to be up this game. I don't think the Texans are going to pose that much threat to them at all. So
nice. Yeah, I wanted to do something with the Cowboys. I think you're on the right track. I like that play, Steve. I like looking at Dak's completions as opposed to some of the other ones. I think that's a really good look. So we'll move to Cardinals, Bears, Patriots, Broncos. Corbin, like any passing props in this game?
I don't. I'll just quickly skip one more game to the Raiders Chiefs. I'm really interested. I'm not going to play it for some of the reasons I'm about to mention, but I was looking at Aiden O'Connell over his passing. So he had 248 versus the Chiefs last game a couple of weeks ago, but a huge chunk of that came in the first quarter. Obviously, they got up a couple of scores, and the Chiefs have a good passing defense. I think he can still easily go over. The only other game that I think he's gone under was the game against the Vikings, where the Vikings played great defense, and that weird game that ended with only 3 points. But I think he could actually, the first game where he got all the yards in the first quarter, I could see him getting all those yards in the fourth quarter because I think they're going to be playing from behind this time. And I have to feel that they're going to struggle with the run game here. So I'm looking at Aiden O'Connell over his passing.
Steve, like any passing props in these games?
Nothing I'm getting to the window with, but a lean on Russell Wilson under 214.5. It feels like this game's going to be a low scoring muck fest, and I just don't. He hasn't really thrown for a ton of yardage. He doesn't look very comfortable. They allowed 21 unanswered to the Lions last week, and I think this game they're going to try to keep it conservative on both sides. I feel like it's not something I'll be rushing to the window with, but I lean under on Wilson today.
Yeah, tough props in this one. Tomorrow let's go ahead and do them tomorrow because we're not doing shows on Christmas. Jalen Hurts, Tommy DeVito, Brock Purdy, Lamar Jackson. I actually lean Jalen Hurts under his passing yards. I think it's a big running game. I think the Giants kind of suck. I think they came crashing back to earth in the Tommy DeVito. Once I saw the Tommy DeVito video of him making cutlets at home with jarred tomato sauce, which Steve is basically it. Like, don't you lose all credibility?
Yeah.
We don't even do that in my house. My wife makes her own tomato sauce. But for them to do it right then, I was like, I'm out. I'm completely out on Tommy DeVito, and I know it sounds silly, but I was like, okay, we've jumped the shark with Tommy DeVito. So I think Philly runs the ball a ton. We'll get to the running backs. I like the Philly running backs to go over quite a bit. I think they run all over the Giants. So therefore, I'm taking Jalen Hurts under. He's clearly hurt. What a great game to not put a lot of pressure on him and not make him throw the ball a ton. So, Corbin, do you like any of these quarterback props?
I was actually considering DeVito over. It's such a low total. I think they could.
It is
The
low.
Eagles have been awful against the pass recently. I think the Eagles are going to be ahead, so I'm expecting the Giants to be throwing. They don't really have anything to lose at this point. I could easily see him making this up in the third and fourth quarters, quite honestly. So.
Steve, do you like any of these props?
Yeah, it's a big number against Baltimore, but I think Purdy over 252.5 is attainable. So he's thrown for 252 plus in every home game this season, 6 for 6. He's cleared it in 5 of 6, but he landed on the hook once as well. He's also went over in 6 of his last 8. And I know Baltimore's, they have a great pass defense, one of the best, but I feel like this is going to be a spot where both teams push each other, and he's going to be taking some shots downfield to not necessarily keep up, but keep up with the scoring. So give me his over there.
By far the longest pass per attempt and pass per completion in the league, Brock Purdy. I mean, yards after catch helps, but he throws the ball deep. It's not a lot of short dink and dunk when they're hitting Ayuk and Samuel and Kittle. They're eating up big chunks of yards. So I like that one. Let's go to some receiving props again. I find these tough. Corbin, I know we're going to talk a same game parlay with some of these guys in Lions Vikings. So, Steve, do you like any receiving props in Lions and Vikings?
No, this one's a pass for me.
Okay. Corbin, do you want to talk about it now or you want to wait?
I can save it. The one, so I'll mention this later, but I still like his normal lines for both of these actually. So Justin Jefferson, over 6.5 receptions, you can get him. He's getting far more involved now. He's obviously fresh, having not played for most of the year. I think he had 7 last week, expecting a shootout. So I'll mention him in my same game parlay, but I like him over his normal receptions. And then also in that same game parlay is TJ Hawkinson. I think he's going to have a great game. I actually like his receptions and his receiving. I like both of them, but I like them at their normal lines as well as their alt lines. So I'll get to that a bit later.
All right. And we'll move down to Colts and Falcons. Now that there's no Michael Pittman, I really don't know what to do because you could look at Josh Downs, but here's the problem: the Falcons are one of the best pass defenses. They have been all year. This is like nothing new. They've been very good about the pass. I actually wanted to take an under on Pittman because I was like, I didn't buy him coming back from this injury. Turns out that was right. And then just you have the Falcons. So I'm not really sure what to do in this game. And I with this Colts rush defense as bad as it is, I actually think there's value in some unders on the Falcons. But then you throw in Taylor Heineke, who's obviously going to probably throw better for than Desmond Ridder. So I have nothing to bring to the table with the Colts. I'd like to have some insider info, but I got nothing. So, Steve, do you like anything here?
Yeah, I got a spot I really like. Normally, with Pittman being out, you would look towards overs for the other receivers generally, but I'm on Pierce under, it was 40.5 earlier. It's 39.5 I see now, but I still like it. He's fallen short in 11 of 14 games, 6 of his last 7. And now he's going to draw AJ Terrell. He's going to draw the top cover guy on the team without Pittman out there. So that makes me really like his under today a lot.
Yeah, you could be onto something there because surely Terrell is going to be all over Pittman and yeah, whoever Terrell's on now, huge advantage Atlanta. Like we don't have any receiver that can compete with them. So Packers and Panthers. Corbin, you like any of these guys? No Christian Watson, and it doesn't look like they're giving us some props on the Packers right now.
Yeah,
Except for Aaron Jones. Get your boy Aaron Jones there.
that's the only one that I could consider on this list. But the Panthers have a somewhat decent pass defense. I can't take any Panthers passing over for the same reason I like Bryce Young to go under and them just to run. Yeah, Aaron Jones, he always seems to get involved. I don't know if AJ Dillon's out this week. I think he missed the last game, if I remember. But that has a huge impact on Aaron Jones because he's catching passes out of the backfield. Sometimes he lines up as a wide receiver. 20.5 is quite low for Aaron Jones total. It's normally 24, 25 kind of range. But the only problem is I don't know how competitive this game is going to end up being. So that's what scares me off. But yeah, if not, Aaron Jones is the one that I could consider on this list. So
Well, AJ Dillon is 100% playing, but he's got a
okay,
broken thumb, but you got to wonder, like,
yeah,
do they trust him? The fact that there aren't props out on his receiving kind of says, "Ugh, I don't
yeah.
know if we know what to do with him." So, Steve, do you like anything Packers or Panthers, or we want to move on to Seahawks and Titans?
I'm actually on the other side of the coin on Aaron Jones. The Panthers, the one spot they're good against the pass, but where they're best is against the stopping opposing running back, second least yards through the air, not on the ground, through the air to opposing running backs. And since Jones has come back from the injury, he's under in 5 of 7 games, and he's only had 22 and 26 in the other two. So I think with the stingy pass defense against the running backs, I'm on the opposite side of the coin for that one with Aaron Jones under for his receiving yards.
Nice. Didn't expect head to head on Aaron Jones receiving.
You
for
could look
some
at his.
reason.
Could you just pull up Aaron Jones's? I was just looking at his stats while Steve was talking. So even though he hasn't been getting there on the yards, his receptions he's had 4-1, 4-4-4-3. I don't know
Hmm.
what that could be a spot to look at. I'd probably
Yeah.
prefer the receptions looking at that than the yards. So
Yep. Plus 135 on over 3.5. That seems like a pretty interesting price.
yeah,
If he's getting forward, because you got to imagine they're not going to be too excited about throwing the ball to to AJ Dillon if he plays with that broken thumb.
exactly.
So Seahawks
That's a good
and
point.
Seahawks and Titans. Corbin, I know you talked about longest reception with DK Metcalf. You want to go over that again?
Yeah, so DK is obviously the biggest deep threat. He has so much speed, and he's not had the greatest year, but he's done really well still on his longest reception. Titans are 22nd versus the pass. They really suck against defending the deep ball in particular. 8 of 9 games he's gone over this year. Only under is to the 49ers, who obviously have a far better defense than the Titans. Is that down to 22.5, so even one
22 and a
extra
half.
yard.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. That's one of my favorite plays of the week. So particularly with
Uh,
Geno Smith back as well. So
Steve, you like any receiving props in this game?
No, that one not to pass for me on that one.
Browns and Texans. I guess the only one I kind of like is David Njoku. 10 catches last week, 50 yards. He looks like a really good tight end this year. Played with 4 different quarterbacks, still put up pretty good numbers, and I just love that 10 for 100 last week. So that would be the only way I would go in this one. I have no idea what Case Keenum's going to do, so I can't get there on any of those. Steve, you like any receiving props in Browns and Texans?
Yeah, with the quarterbacks, I don't have any idea what to do with this game, so I passed on it.
Corbin?
I have a couple of thoughts. I think I've got a couple in some same game parlays. I was looking at Njoku receptions. The only problem I have with Njoku is, again, I don't know if Flacco's going to be throwing as much. And quite a lot of those yards and receptions in the last couple games that I've watched seem to come really late in the game when they're throwing the ball and trying to catch up. I think there was one drive that Njoku had 3 or 4 receptions and quite a few chunky plays. So that kind of scared me off that play. Was looking at Noah Brown again. It's just a tough defense, and again, I don't trust Keenum, so that kind of scares me off. I was on Elijah Moore last week, and he did nothing, so probably means he's going to come back. Come back this week. They've lowered the total quite considerably. It was low 40s down to 35. So yeah, they're the spots that I'm kind of looking, but I can't really take anything concrete. So
Commanders and Jets. Bah. All right, I dare one of you to take an over. Come on, who's gonna who's gonna do it? Who's Trevor Simeon gonna get to go over, and which Commanders receivers gonna go over? I got nothing in this game, Steve.
Yeah, I don't have much either. I considered Wilson just because of the Commanders, so they're so bad against the
They
pass.
are bad.
But I could just see it being with Simeon being out there. I could just see it being a spot where he throws for 125 yards or something, and they don't get there. So you're not going to get me to the window with really anything on this game at all.
Corbin, Jeremy Ruckert,
no,
props. Right?
I want nothing to do with that. No, thank
Okay.
you.
Jaguars, Jaguars and Buccaneers. I I don't know what to make of the Jaguars here. Like Calvin Ridley's an enigma. Um, I as much as I like Baker Mayfield, I can't pick like one guy that I like to go over his yardage. I think keep it simple and just stick to Baker here and this one in the Jags receivers. My gosh, the only guy that you could really kind of trust in this offense is Evan Ingram, but I feel like the books are out ahead of this with a 54.5. So I don't know, Steve. What'd you find with Jaguars and Bucks these receiving props?
There's a couple spots I like here. I like Evans to bounce back here after his last two games haven't been the greatest, but he's at home now where he's been a different player. He's went over in this number in 4 of 6 home games, landing on 60 and 46 in the other two. We've already talked about how the Jags have a poor pass defense, and I'd also look his way on. Corbin has me looking at these most receiving yards in a game, and he's sitting at plus 180 for this one. I mean, who's going to challenge him? Ridley is maybe the only guy that you could see challenging him. Maybe if Godwin breaks one or something like that. But I at plus 180, that's something I could see sprinkling. And I could also look towards Kate Otten going over 23.5. He's went over in 6 of his last 9 as well. And we'll talk about it a little bit after, but the Jags have gotten carved up by tight ends the past couple of weeks as well.
Corbin, you like any receiving props in this game?
I like Rashad White to go over his receiving. So we've mentioned it. He kind of, you look at his stats and he's had like 50, 33, 22, 10, 28, 47. Like it's kind of, at first you would say it's hit or miss, but again, against these good rushing defense, he's catching so much more in the passing game. We mentioned we're expecting Baker to throw 26.5 isn't a lot. He's gone over the last 2 weeks with just 2 receptions in each game. So I may look at his, I don't know what his longest reception is, but just looking at some of the stats, so he's had 22, 20, 33, 43, 11, 6, 20, 31, and 26 as his longest. If it's anything under, say, 15 to 17 kind of range, I could see him easily catching one long pass. So that's where
Okay.
I'm looking.
Cowboys and Dolphins. A lot of big names in this one. Steve, who do you like in this one?
There is a lot of big names, but I don't have with Hill being banged up and stuff, and I'm not really sure what to make of that. So I don't have anything official or any even any leans on this one particularly.
Corbin?
No, I'm same as Steve. I've got nothing. Actually,
All
no,
right.
I do. I do have one. I have 8 chain over 20. Was it 23 and a
Three and a
half?
half this morning, yeah.
Yeah, so he's over in 3 straight, and his targets and work in the passing game has significantly increased in the last 3 games, hence why he's gone over that total. Expecting a shootout. Hill still banged up potentially. I could easily see a couple of passes to 8 chain. He has so much speed on the outside. If they get him in space, he could easily get that in like 2 catches, quite honestly. So that's where I was looking.
All right. Arizona Cardinals and Chicago Bears. This is a tough one. This Bears defense all of a sudden playing like really good. This is a defense I would not want to be facing if I had playoff hopes on the line. So I don't know. I'm kind of staying away. I know Trey McBride's the new hot topic, and was laughing that like next year, Trey McBride and Sam Laporta are probably going to be drafted ahead of Travis Kelsey. Like, congratulations if you would have predicted that at the beginning of this season. So, Steve, you like receiving props in this game?
Yeah, I was going to mention McBride too. Just a lean though. I would lean on his over. He's just pretty much put up 60 plus almost every week for about a little over a month now. But yeah, it's not something I'm on officially though.
Corbin?
Quickly, whilst I remember, I just looked it up. Rashad White's longest is set at 13.5, and he's over that in 7 of 9. So yeah, I really like that number. For this game, I have a same game parlay coming up with them, but I really like the Cole Kmet over 3.5 receptions. I'm expecting this could turn into a sneaky shootout in my eyes. I'm expecting quite a few points. He's a good safety blanket for Fields when he does go to the passing game. And then obviously I like Trey McBride and DJ Moore, but I like them at their alt total, so we'll get to that in a little bit.
Patriots and Broncos. Steve? Cold game. This one's a tough one, huh?
Yeah, it really is. I think that you could consider Elliott over his receiving, but just with that now because the Patriots don't have Henry as well. But with the weather and everything, I won't be looking at props in this one really.
Yeah, and the other thing, Corbin, you and I were talking yesterday. Boy, the books, they're not going to let us cash on these Zeke over receiving props that easy. I mean, they
No.
bumped it up to
Yeah.
30.5.
Crazy,
Man,
crazy jump. Crazy
yeah.
jump.
Anything you like in this one passing wise? You going back to Cortland Sutton over his longest?
No, not against the Patriots. I can't do it. I will be back to it in future games, just I can't do it this one. Yeah, this one's just a complete stay away for me in this kind of area.
Raiders and Chiefs. Corbin, do you like anything this one? If you kind of like Aiden O'Connell, do you like any of these other guys?
I do, but I find it hard to pick one guy with Aiden, so I'm just going to go with his passing. I was on Kelsey over 66.5. I mentioned this to you earlier in the week, and you were mentioning that he's looking older and not as good. So he had 91 versus the Raiders just a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, was playing from behind, so may not get that same kind of production. He's over in 3 of the last 4 weeks. I liked him last week and he went under, but that was against the Patriots defense that is far better than the Raiders one. He's still the number one target for Mahomes, quite honestly, by far. So at 66.5, I'm gonna play him probably this week, just small. So
I mean, when I say Kelsey looks old, he does. Okay, when I say old, he just doesn't look very fast. And
no,
remember, he got hurt at the very beginning of the year and didn't play.
yeah,
Would it surprise anybody if, like, as soon as the season got over, it was like, oh, he's got to have surgery on like this tendon in his groin that he like tore like at the beginning of the season. That's why he's looked bad. I don't know. He doesn't look like the old Travis Kelsey, and he's gone under quite a few
no.
times. So that's my only caution with him. Steve, do you like any receiving props in this game?
No, nothing officially, but I agree with you on Kelsey looking a step slower. It seems like he's almost getting ready to retire almost. You know what I mean? He seems like he could. It's coming pretty soon. So
Giants and
I will say
Eagles.
him and his brother also started that podcast. We talk about it sometimes in the UFC scene when fighters, the OnlyFans theory, when they're looking to do something else, they start doing like commentary. It very much has a feel of them just doing other stuff or getting ready for life after the NFL. So
Yeah,
Taylor Swift.
Jason Kelsey's pretty much guaranteed to retire after this one. He wasn't even think. What's crazy about him though, he's still like one of the best centers. Like
yeah,
He's great. Yeah.
can you imagine if he's like, I don't know if I'll come back. All right, I'll come back and I'll just be the best. That's fine. So, Giants and the Eagles. Steve, you like any receiving props in this?
No, this is a pass for me.
Corbin?
I have Wandale Robinson over 3.5 receptions. He's over in 3 straight. I've mentioned that I like DeVito to have a somewhat decent game here. The Eagles have been awful versus the pass. I'm expecting the Giants to play from behind. And Robinson's really been getting a lot more targets and action. I could, yeah, quite easily see him going over this total. So,
I thought I was so sneaky with DeAndre Swift under 2.5, and I was for like a day at a decent price, and now it's all the way down to minus 190. He's just not catching a lot of passes. They're using him to run the ball, not pass, and I think that's what continues here. So, unfortunately, I like this under 2.5, but at minus 190, it would require a parlay piece, and I don't think there's very much value in that one. I'm with you on Wandale Robinson, Corbin. He's been like the lone consistent receiver for the Giants.
yeah.
He just kind of seems to always get there. So I agree with that one. Let's see. Steve, do you like anything here in this Ravens 49ers from receivers? Talk about a game with big names, huh?
Yeah, for sure. And I know I mentioned I like Purdy over, but I really can't just narrow it down to one of these. There's four huge targets here to look at, and obviously other guys as well. But I'd look towards the other side, and Isaiah likely over 38.5. It's a pretty low number for him. We know that Lamar has the great rapport with Andrews, and he likes to lock in on that tight end. The last 2 weeks, 70 and 83 from likely, and the Niners obviously great defense, but tight ends they're kind of middle of the pack against. So I would look towards that slow number for him likely to go over.
Corbin, you like any passing props in this game? It is hard not to do that when you're talking
Steve.
about him. Like you're like he's likely
So
to not
corny.
likely. Uh,
Oh, I can't really get I can't get there with any of these specifically. If I had to pick one, it would be McCaffrey over 30.5. It's quite a low total because every time he catches those passes, he's going at least like 10, 15, 20 yards per catch, it seems. So I could easily see him getting 3 or 4. It all depends how close you see this game being, and I'm expecting it to be close. The Ravens have a decent rush defense, and maybe they'll get McCaffrey involved in the passing game at a lower total. So
I've talked about it all year. The first time these NFC teams see Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, it is a little bit of a shell shock. So I'm really excited to watch that. Although I will never forgive the NFL for putting these damn games on Christmas. So when people are at their family functions trying to pay attention to their fantasy football playoffs or championships. Like, could you just let the NBA have one day a year? Do you have to like
Yeah,
stomp
right.
on their throats every single day? Now we got to pay attention to all those. So,
Real
Rush.
quick, just to piggyback off that, the Ravens team total. I'm sorry to cut you off, but the Ravens team total, we talked about it on Team Total Thursday at 20.5. It's now plus money. It's now plus 110, and I'm still on board with it. Like 31,
Yeah,
37, 37, 38 in 4 games against the NFC for the Ravens, and Niners allowed 29 to Arizona last week. So I think the Ravens getting 21 seems like a good bet to me at plus money.
I agree completely. I'm still sticking to my guns on the Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. What did I say? Did I hear? He's 19-1 against NFC
Yeah,
teams in his career.
and this is
It's
their last crack.
unbelievable.
Yeah, this will be their last crack against an NFC team too, unless it's Super Bowl.
Yeah, yeah. So, the Lions and the Vikings. I've talked about this. Jameer Gibbs over 13.5. It's a tough matchup. The Vikings do not give up big, long chunk plays. He's gone over in 8 straight games. It's just like once a game and he's not even barely going over. In those 8 straight games, 7 of them have been 20 yards or more. He's so explosive. He's such a great change of pace when you see Montgomery running the ball right up the middle, and all of a sudden they bring in Gibbs and he bounces it to the outside. So I know it's a tough matchup against the Vikings, but I'm going to stick to it and take Jameer Gibbs. 8 games in a row certainly has my attention. So, Steve, you like any rushing props in this one?
Yeah, this one's a pass for me.
Corbin?
yeah, pass. I think they're going to be passing the ball far more than running it. So
Colts at Falcons. We got Bijan Robinson, who just murdered fantasy teams last week, and the coach is like, "Yeah, he's wearing down." It's like, is he? Because you don't give him very much work.
Yeah, yeah, he hasn't worked that hard. I don't feel like.
So, I don't know. My gut tells me Jonathan Taylor under. Now with Pittman out, I mean seriously, the Falcons could put as many guys in the box as they want to try and take. There's no Zach Moss, so there's no. I think this is just going to be a low scoring, blah type of game. So, Corbin, do you like any rushing props? Colts Falcons.
no, I like players betting on players coming back from injury, but that's such a huge total for Jonathan Taylor. I can't do it. So
Yeah.
I
Steve.
was I would
Oh, sorry.
consider
Go ahead.
an Algier under. I have not been impressed by him in the slightest. I know that you're a huge fan of his and running the fan club,
Not
but
recently. Not recently.
yeah, he's getting less and less carries. They're bringing in Patterson to do some of his running. It's just like, yeah, it's just all over the place. So yeah, if I had to look, I would go with Algier under rushing.
Corbin, anytime you have Cordero Patterson on your team, along with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, you have to get Patterson work. That is just known in
Yeah,
NFL circles. You have to push Bijan and Algier to the side and let Cordero eat. Uh, so- oh man! So Steve, any rushing props in this game?
No, nothing for me in this one.
Packers and Panthers. Corbin, you've been very consistent in your hatred of the Packers' rush defense, and to your credit, you've been correct. So look
yes,
at this number on Chuba Hubbard,
yes,
74.5. Oh my gosh,
crazy.
the books are not going to give us a discount on this one. So let's talk it out. Really big number. Do you like it?
He's probably still going to go over, quite honestly, because it's just we are just so bad versus the run. I'd be interested to see what his longest rush stats actually is this week. But
I'll look it up
yeah,
here.
it's one that I'm definitely going to use in an alt spread. It's coming up later. I like him at 70, but when you can get him down to like the 40 or 50 range, I love it even more. So 60.5 is really not that bad, because as soon as he runs through the first line of no defense, he's got so much space till he even sees someone else. So
There's nothing better than like fans of a certain team when they're not good or they have a really big weakness, and but the fans know it, just
it's
constantly
so
bash it
obvious.
every week. I know,
I
It's
will. I will be shocked if our defensive coordinator is there next year. He was awful last year. Shocked he stayed, and I'm shocked he's even still here at this point. So
Steve, you like any rushing props in this game?
I was looking at Hubbard as well, but it's just a little too high for me to get to the window with. I think he gets there, but I just feel like there's better plays on the board.
Seahawks and the Titans. I love me some Kenneth Walker in this game. No Jeffrey Simmons, which a lot of casual fans may not know who that is. He's a really good run stuffer, and without him, they're just they're awful. Like they've almost become the Colts, where it was like you can throw on them, you can run on them. Like the options are limitless with what you can do with against this Titans team. Devin Singletary had 100 yards last week. I think this is a really, really good spot for Kenneth Walker over 61.5. It was 63.5. They've lowered it and added some juice to it. I'm perfectly fine with laying this number. Might be a really good alt line to get it down to 40 or even 50 yards. I know Zach Charbonnet is going to get some carries, but Geno Smith coming off of an injury, take the path of least resistance for the Seahawks and just have him run it. So I'll take Kenneth Walker all day over his total. Steve, do you like any of these?
Yeah, I'm looking at Spears, but that's my best bet, so I'll hold back on it.
Corbin?
I have nothing for this game.
Browns and the Texans. Corbin, you want anything to do with Singletary, Ford, or Hunt?
Not really. I was looking at Ford rushing because I'm expecting them to be up and running the ball more, but yeah, I can't quite get there with any of these totals. So
Steve?
I considered something with like a maybe Singletary under, but it's nothing for me.
Commanders and the Jets. Listen, Brian Robinson's not playing, and this is a really low total on Antonio Gibson, 27.5. I almost weirdly kind of like it, but then you got Chris Rodriguez. I don't know. In the end, it's just I am not going to play anything in this game, but I don't know. Fading the Jets' run defense just doesn't seem like that bad of an idea with how good they've been against the pass. So, Steve, did you find anything you liked in this rushing props in this game?
No, not from this one.
Corbin?
I have two. I've already played Chris Rodriguez. When it came out, it was 34.5. I've also played him to get 25 plus in some alt plays and some same game parlays. I think he's gonna get most of the runs this week. I think he's gonna be ahead of Gibson. They just don't look to trust Gibson any of these kind of weeks. He had 10 carries for 35 last week. And I've mentioned the Jets are just not great versus the run. So that's one thought. And then similarly, Howe over 14.5 for kind of the same reason that I like Chris Rodriguez. I like these guys when they're playing a tough passing defense. I could easily see Howe getting some scrambles when he sees that his receivers are all locked up and he has no option really but to run or take a sack basically. So yeah, they're the two overs that I'm looking for. Kind of hard when it's up to 38.5, but I still think I think he gets into the mid 40s quite honestly. So
Love it.
Yeah, I'm with Corbin on Howell as well. I'm sorry, but
You like that?
I,
Okay.
yeah, I forgot about it because he's a quarterback, but yeah, I love that over as well. He's went over in 4 of the last 5 weeks, averaging 21.5. And like Corbin said, backing off that, the pass defense from the Jets, he's gonna have trouble finding wide receivers and have to scramble at points.
This is Jim. Jim Malero does all the sack props. This is his favorite game to focus on. He hit his big play last night. Trey Hendrickson for the Bengals.
Yeah.
It took a while to get there, but it did get there. So he really likes this one. I'll text him and see if he has a specific play that we can give out on this
I think
game.
he just sent me one, so I'll look whilst you carry
Well,
on
he sent me
talking.
one too, except he forgot to include the play. He listed the reasoning and then forgot to say the player. That's why I'm texting him back. Jaguars and Buccaneers. God, Rashad White's up to 71.5 rushing. I don't know. Steve, do you like any of these guys?
No, I think it's more of a passing game here, so I nothing for me.
Corbin?
No, I liked White's receiving. Don't particularly like his rushing at that high of a total. If anything, I may actually look to go under. We mentioned when they play bad passing defenses, they throw the ball a lot more, so maybe less running opportunities for White this week. But it'd be hard to take an under on a guy that's having so much success. So
Okay. All right. I'll pull up the sack props when we're done with this and show you what he's going to play if you're interested in that. Cowboys and Dolphins. Corbin, you talked about A-Chain's receiving. Do you like any rushing in this game?
I actually don't like any of their rushing this week. The Prescott rushing is the one that has the most interest for me, or a Pollard under, but they don't they don't have it at the minute. Nothing concrete because I think it's going to turn into a high scoring shootout. I prefer them just to pass rather than them run this week. So
Cardinals and Bears. Oh my. I like James Conner. Well, I say under, and he looks so good against the 49ers. This Bears defense just seems to be playing really well. I would look at maybe an alt under, like on a high team total for the Cardinals. I just really like this Bears team right now. I think they're not half bad. The problem with the Bears rushing attack is it feels like there's 8 guys that get carries every game, and they all just kind of eat each other's props. So as much as I like the Bears to run, I'm not really sure who gets there. Maybe it's Foreman, maybe it's Fields. I don't know. In the end, I'm probably not getting to the window though. Steve, do you like anything in particular rushing wise in this game?
No, pass for me.
Corbin?
yeah, pass. I was hoping to see a Kyler Murray number a bit lower than 30, like in the mid 20s, but at 30, it's kind of a stay away for me on all of them. So
Patriots and Broncos, I like Javonte Williams under 54.5 since the bye week. They've only had one running back get to 46 yards rushing against your team, Steve. Like your guys' rush defense it's seriously like the best in the league. If not, it's easily top 3. They're just eating up these running backs. I'm stunned to see Javonte Williams at 54.5. Like he doesn't seem like that guy to get there. So I'll take the under. Like 3 of the games, they haven't allowed anyone to get over 40 yards. So that's a pretty easy under for me in this one. So, Steve, do you agree?
I'm completely with you on that. They've been the best over the past couple of months, and they were actually ranked number 2 on the
Wow.
season in against in rushing yards allowed, and on the other side. So I'm with you on Williams. I don't see him getting over that today. I like that under. And then it's like the complete opposites here, though, because the Broncos are dead last against the run. So I see a lot of work for Ezekiel Elliott today. I mean, you don't have to pull it up, but his attempts is at 16.5. And I'll take the over. He's had 11, 22, and 17 the last 3 weeks. No Stevenson, obviously, but now no Henry as well. Someone's going to have to get the work here, and I think it's conservative on both sides. Patriots are going to try to, and I like Ezekiel through the air as well a little bit. I know the number got a little too high for his yardage, but yeah, Broncos dead last against the run. Give me his over on his rushing attempts today for
Corbin?
Elliott.
yeah, I can't take any of these guys. I like Elliott to have a good game, but 66.5 is is a bit too high for me, so it's a pass.
All right, question. So, Steve, let's say you're in your fantasy football championship, and it all comes down to one running back spot. Today, who would you rather have, Tony Pollard or Ezekiel Elliott?
I'd play Elliott. I
It's
would
Zeke. It's Zeke easily.
With the matchup, his ability to catch it out of the backfield, and the chances that he scores a touchdown as well. We'll talk about that when we get to the touchdown scores. He's one of my guys, though. So
Who would have thunk it? We would
Yeah,
rather have
at this point in the
Zeke over
season,
Tony Pollard. Unbelievable.
it's wild.
This is crazy. Raiders and Chiefs, Pacheco and Mahomes. Steve, you like either of these guys?
Nothing for me.
Corbin?
I don't like anything in that game. No, I actually have one for the next game.
Go for it.
You can actually get Gainwell over 19.5 at FanDuel. I really like this spot for him. He's coming off a couple of good games. He's getting more rushes. I think Swift is slowing down considerably. I think they're going to try and take some of his load off him and get him ready for the playoffs. Give him a bit of rest. I think they're going to be up by quite a few scores here in the Eagles, so they're going to be able to run the ball with their backup Gainwell. 19.5, such a low total. I think that's where I'm looking this week. It's one of my favorite plays.
I'm with you on Gainwell and DeAndre Swift. I think both of them go over. I think this is an Eagles ass kicking. What a great get right spot after the just horrendous schedule that they had to play and losing those games. I think it's DeAndre Swift over. I think it's Kenneth Gainwell over. I think they get way over. I would honestly play Jalen Hurts under 40.5 rushing. I don't know why they would have him running the ball a bunch in this game. This seems like a spot to conserve him and let him get a little bit healthier. So Swift and Gainwell for me. Steve, any rushing props you like in this one?
I agree with you on Swift. I like that over as well, but yeah, you guys already talked about it, so nothing really else for me.
Ravens and 49ers. Steve, you like any of these guys?
Nah, it's a pass for me on this game for right now.
I like Gus Edwards over 39.5. Brutal to watch what happened to Keaton Mitchell, but that leaves 9 to 10 carries that are available for everybody. And 49ers, there was something there with James Conner and the Cardinals. They saw something, and I think at this Ravens team, I think they're going to surprise the 49ers, at least for a little bit. And this number just seems really, really low here. I think he's going to get double-digit carries. And you go look at Gus Edwards this year. When he gets double-digit carries, he goes over this total. It's just without Keaton Mitchell there, that's a really, really big piece. And the 49ers, I know they got a good defense, but I think this game is close. I think Gus Edwards gets quite a bit of work. And I think the Ravens want to really control the clock and not let Brock Purdy and the offense get going. So I'll happily take Edwards to get to 40 yards in this one. Corbin?
I don't really have any opinions. The only one's McCaffrey under 84.5. It's just such a huge total, and the Ravens have quite a good defense. And then the other one is Lamar Jackson over his rushing. Have to feel like he's going to get some. Without Mitchell, he's going to have to run some more. He does whatever he wants. He just runs whenever he feels like it. So.
All right, we will get to our best bet, same game parlays, and anytime touchdown. Real quick, so Jim is playing all of these guys except for Solomon Thomas on DraftKings. All of these guys are at 0.25, which means a half a sack cashes. So he's sprinkling all these guys. He brings up tons of good stats about how the Commanders give up the third. They've given up 59 sacks this year. Jets, not to be outdone, have given up 61. So Jim's point is, how many sacks we're going to see in this game? 6, 7, 8? And if that happens, you're probably going to cash on quite a few of these. So he's sprinkling a little bit on all these guys except Solomon Thomas. So
he also wanted me to shout out Alex Rucker over 1.5 receptions. We touched on it briefly, plus 105, and apparently he's gone over in 4 or 5. So nice. I'll take it from a Jets fan that knows what madness they're watching.
Nice.
That's a good look as well with Howell. With Howell facing that tough pass defense, and if he can't locate any receivers, that's a good look for him to get sacked a ton today. And we've seen him get sacked a lot already. So
yeah. If you guys have not taken advantage, promo code birthday30. That is at Andy Lang at WagerTalk.com. $30 off 7-day pass. Was $99, discounted to $69. Gets all of our plays for today and for the next 7 days. So take advantage of that. Steve, you got 5% play up in NFL, and you've got a basketball promo code. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I have a 5% Sunday night football play for tonight's game that'll be available over at sportsmemo.com. And then you can use the code HOOPS50. You get $50 off any 30-day Hoops pass. I'm on a 16-7 Hoops run, 4-1. My last 5 college basketball player props, so those are going strong. And you can get both combined in that one package, and you can use that for Christmas Day NBA. I'll be in action in the NBA tomorrow as well for Christmas Day.
Nice. All right, let's narrow it down. Let's get to some specific plays. Corbin, I'll let you go first. Let's talk about your same game parlays. Walk us through these two.
Yeah, so I have two. I absolutely love these spots. I've also used combinations of these parts with, so example, if you like just a Hawkinson part, when I get to it, you could easily put it with the McBride part or whatever and mix and match. But as pure same game parlays, I'll go with the Cardinals versus the Bears one first. So we have DJ Moore to get 40 plus receiving yards. He's over in every game this year except week 1 versus the Packers. Again, I'm expecting this game to be a little bit of a shootout. I'm expecting quite a few points. He's definitely the wide receiver one there, getting a lot more production recently. Trey McBride to get 40 plus yards. He's over in 5 straight. He has a great connection with Kyler Murray. He's definitely the number one target, it seems. If they're going to put up points through the air, it's definitely going to have to go through him. And then Cole Kmet, 2+ receptions to bring the juice down a bit. He's over this in every single game this year. So wrap all of that up for -129. And then the other same game parlay is in the Lions versus the Vikings. Again, expecting this to be high scoring. I think both teams are going to struggle on the ground, so it could end up with lots of passing, mainly from the Vikings side. I think they're going to struggle to run the ball here. So TJ Hawkinson, 25 plus receiving and 4 receptions. He's cleared this in every game this year, except versus the Panthers, who have a great passing defense. It's a revenge sport. We know Steve loves the revenge games when they're playing their old teams. And he had 6 receptions for 63 yards last week, so looking good. And then Justin Jefferson, 5+ receptions. He's over in all 5 games that he started and finished. He had 7 last week, and he's really starting to get going now. He's been fresh because he obviously hasn't played all year. I think he's gonna try and put his name back on the map, quite honestly, with quite a few receptions and yards. So wrap all of that up for -147.
Nice. There are your same game parlays for today. And Corbin, real quick, walk us through your alt line parlay here.
Yeah, so the first piece is the Browns +7.5. I mentioned I expect Keenum and the Texans to have a rough day. The Browns defense is still pretty good. They're still playing well. I mentioned I like Flacco to go under, but if he's needed, he's playing so well that even if they get behind and they need a situation where he needs to throw the ball, I have faith in him. I don't see how the Texans can score enough points to get that far ahead of them. I mentioned I don't. Keenum's not really a threat to me, and 10 straight the Texans haven't covered 7.5 even when they've won. So they're having quite a few close games. Buccaneers +10.5 versus the Jags. I still think Trevor Lawrence is hurt. He still doesn't look great. This is a great matchup for Baker Mayfield against a poor Jags passing defense. The Bucs have only lost by more than 10 against the Eagles, Lions, and 49ers, whereas the Jags have lost 3 straight. I think just seeing 2 teams going in different directions at the minute. And then the final piece is the Chiefs team total over 19.5. They have huge success versus the Raiders. They've gone over in nearly all the recent head-to-heads, if not all of them that I could find. They had 31 in that last game where they basically were down 14 in the first quarter, came back to have 31. Raiders defense has improved, but it's still not great. So we'll wrap all of that up for -150.
It was like one of the best live betting opportunities of the season. Raiders are up 14-0 against Kansas City. It's Kansas
Yeah.
City money line. So, all right, Steve. Anytime touchdown scores. Who do we like this week?
So starting with Evans at +105, we've beaten this Jaguars pass defense to death, but they've allowed the 5th most wide receiver touchdowns this season with 15. Evans has scored in 10 of 14 games, and he's much better at home where he scored in 5 of 6 games. Next guy is Derrick Henry, who's kind of struggled the past couple of weeks, but he's another guy who's just so much better at home. He's only scored in 7 of 14, but he scored in 5 of 7 at home. Tannehill at quarterback, I think it calls for a conservative game script where they're just going to run both running backs a lot. And he's had 2+3 of his last 4. Seattle allows the 2nd most running back rushing touchdowns with 14 on the year. Elliott's a guy that I didn't think I'd have on here at this point in the season, but no Stevenson, no Henry. He's going to get looked towards a lot. We mentioned the last 3 weeks with attempts 11, 20, 11, 17, and 25. And he's also had 4, 5, and 7 receptions the last 3 weeks. So the Broncos allow the fourth most running back touchdowns on the ground, but also the second most through the air. So, one way or the other, he's going to get looked at the red zone here. And at plus 150, I love him in that spot. And then as the long shot, Cade Otton, he has the second most receiving touchdowns on the Bucs this season behind only Mike Evans. And I know I have 2 guys from the same team here, but I like Mayfield to throw 2+ today. Hopefully it's the 2 of these guys. Otton's a guy that I would sprinkle because the Jaguars' pass defense has gotten carved up by tight ends the past couple of weeks. Likely scored against them 2 weeks ago, and Juco scored against them twice last week. So I could see that being worth a sprinkle. And then for this week's pay dirt parlay, let's go Evans, Henry, and Elliott all together at plus 839.
Love it. Love it. I can't believe we're getting Mike Evans at plus money. That's
10 of
bonkers.
14 weeks, yeah. He's scoring like almost every game, and at home he's like 5 or 6. It's a nearly 100% on the year.
That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, we're going to get to our 3 NFL best bets. Please hit the like button. Give us a comment. Really helps the algorithm out, and I want to hear how you guys are doing over this holiday weekend, and tell us what's going good for you this week. So let's do it. 3 NFL best bets. I am on the opposite side of Corbin here. I love Joe Flacco, and I love the Browns in this matchup. I'm going back to his pass attempts over 36.5. He's had 44, 44, and 45 pass attempts. I think the Texans are their numbers bear it out. They're much, much better against the run than they are against the pass. Kareem Hunt, throw him forward, just not getting it done. So I'm going to take Joe Flacco to get over this pass attempts. It was 35.5 last week. He flies over it, and they only bump it up 1. So I am stunned that they have not bumped it up a little bit more. So Joe Flacco is my best bet over his pass attempts. Steve, you like Tajay Spears?
Yeah, he's had 29 plus rushing yards. I'm going to go over 29.5 rushing yards here. He's had 29 plus in his last 3 games. One game he died on the hook on 29, but Seattle 25th against the run, and they're horrible against the run. We talked about it with the Henry anytime touchdown prop, and Spears 9, 7, and 16 attempts in the past 3 weeks. You give me a guy with that many attempts to get 30 yards on the ground, and then also looking at Henry, I mentioned I like him to get the touchdown, especially at home, and I think that he does get plenty of work today. But there's some quotes with him where he's talking about he coming to the end of the line here with the Titans, maybe even in his whole career. And you got to think Vrabel wants to give Spears in a lost season for the Titans. You got to think Vrabel wants to give Spears some looks today. So give me his over 29.5.
Love it. Corbin, you're going to go for a little bit of alt line parlay here on this one with some guys. Who do you like?
Yeah, so I love loads of alt lines this week. I've mentioned them throughout the show. My favorite 2, Baker Mayfield, 200 plus passing. We've mentioned it over and over again. Jags, awful pass defense. This is a great matchup for Baker. Easiest path to victory. So we'll take him to get 200 plus. That gives us a nice buffer from the 200. Was it 230, 240 range?
Yeah, it's up to 240.
Total. Yeah, so that's 40 yards off just to give us a nice little buffer. And then Trey McBride, 40 plus, as I mentioned, 5 straight over. He has a good connection with Murray, number 1 target, expecting a lot of points. Again, gives us a nice buffer. I think he's was around 60, so it gives us 20 yards off. Put both of those together, get some nice little parlay there. So
love it. There you go. Joe Flacco over his pass attempts. Tajay Spears over his rushing. Baker on the alt line over passing. The Trey McBride over his receiving. Those are your 3 NFL best bets for today. And that is going to do it for us. So good luck on all your plays, guys. Don't forget to go check out Andy Lang at WagerTalk.com. Use the promo code BIRTHDAY30. Gets $30 off a 7-day pass. Was $99, discounted down to $69. And go check out Steve at Sports Memo. Use the promo code HOOPS50. Gets $50 off 30-day pass on all of his basketball plays. That includes college basketball and NBA. Good luck on all your plays today. If you're in your fantasy football playoffs or championships, good luck to you on those. Let's make it a profitable, fun, and safe holidays. We're obviously off tomorrow for Christmas, and we'll probably be back Tuesday on the road to millions. Good luck today.
Good luck.
Merry Christmas.